Chernobyl's darkest creatures. What lurks in the shadows? Ever wondered what happens to a place after humans suddenly up and leave? Today, we're diving into one of the eeriest spots on Earth, Chernobyl. Imagine abandoned buildings overtaken by trees, rusting amusement parks where laughter once echoed, and a silence so deep it feels alive. But here's the kicker: what if I told you that in the shadows of this nuclear ghost town, there might be creatures unlike any we've seen? The fateful night of 1986. On April 26, 1986, during a safety test gone horribly wrong, reactor number 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant exploded. The disaster spewed massive amounts of radioactive material into the atmosphere. Thousands were evacuated, leaving behind homes, belongings, and even pets. Entire towns were abandoned overnight. The environment? It took a massive hit. Trees turned an unnatural red, animals perished, and an invisible enemy, radiation, lingered everywhere. This catastrophe didn't just change lives, it transformed the very fabric of the surrounding environment. The exclusion zone, a forbidden wilderness. It's a 2,600 square kilometer area around the disaster site deemed too hazardous for humans. Think of it as a massive, accidental wildlife reserve, with a radioactive twist. Walking through it is like stepping back in time. The clocks have stopped, and everything's frozen in the Soviet era. Meanwhile, Mother Nature is hard at work, reclaiming every inch. It's haunting and strangely beautiful, a place where time stands still, and nature marches on. Nature's resurgence. Without humans around to mess things up, wildlife started making a major comeback. Deer roam empty streets, boars snuffle through playgrounds, and owls nest in old office buildings. Animal populations have exploded. Even endangered species like the European bison have been spotted wandering the forests. It's like nature hit the reset button. Life found a way to adapt and thrive. Myths and legends arise. Ever heard of giant mutant spiders or glowing deer? Thanks to movies and games like Stalker and Fallout, Chernobyl has become ground zero for tales of bizarre creatures. Stories circulate about animals with extra limbs or gigantic catfish in cooling ponds. Some even claim to have seen the Black Bird of Chernobyl. While these make great spooky stories, they often stretch the truth. Scientific observations on wildlife. Researchers have studied the exclusion zone's flora and fauna for years, and the findings are surprising. There are effects of radiation. Birds with albinism, tumors, cataracts, and insects show abnormalities like deformed antennae. But we're not talking Godzilla-sized creatures here. Most mutations are small and often harmful to the animal's survival. The mysterious black storks. Let's delve into one of the zone's enigmatic residents, the black stork. Reclusive by nature and rare even outside Chernobyl, they've found an unexpected sanctuary here. Their nesting habits and migration patterns remain somewhat mysterious. They nest in remote areas, making it challenging for researchers. The Przewalski horses. The endangered Przewalski horses, the last truly wild horse species, were reintroduced to the zone in the late 90s. They've adapted well. Without human interference, they've established a thriving population. Researchers monitor them to study how they cope with the radioactive environment. Nocturnal predators. The rise of the wolves. Without humans hunting them, wolves have become the apex predators. Their numbers are estimated to be 7 times higher than in surrounding areas. They've even roamed outside the zone. Researchers study their behavior and physiology, and so far, they seem normal, just more of them. Unseen creatures of the night. The exclusion zone is home to nocturnal creatures like bats and elusive lynx. Researchers share stories of strange encounters, a pair of glowing eyes here, an unusual call there. In such a setting, everything feels more mysterious. The insect world and microfauna. The insect world in Chernobyl is just as intriguing. Some insects have higher mutation rates. Spiders with asymmetrical webs, bees with altered navigation. These changes can ripple through the ecosystem, impacting plant growth and the food chain. The red forest, a toxic habitat. It's one of the most radioactive places on Earth. The name comes from the pine trees that turned reddish after absorbing massive radiation. They died standing. Yet, life persists. Some plants and animals have adapted to survive harsh conditions. Scientists study this area to understand life enduring extreme radiation. Human explorations and encounters. Scientists, photographers, and even YouTubers venture into the zone. They share stories of odd animal behavior. A fox that comes too close, deer unafraid of humans. Maybe it's the lack of hunting pressure, or sheer curiosity. The debate over mutations. Are there mutated creatures? The scientific community is cautiously intrigued. Some studies note increased mutation rates, Others argue effects are minimal. It's important to separate fact from hype. Studying long-term effects is challenging but crucial. Lessons from Chernobyl's ecosystem. What can we learn? Wildlife Resurgence suggests nature's incredible resilience. It introduces rewilding, letting nature restore itself. But it also highlights vulnerabilities and how human actions have consequences. Ethical and environmental considerations. Is it right to interfere or observe in such a sensitive area? Tourism is rising, especially after shows like HBO's Chernobyl. Increased human presence could disrupt wildlife that's flourished in our absence. We need to tread carefully. Future prospects for Chernobyl's wildlife. Long-term effects are uncertain. Will radiation cause significant genetic changes? Continuous research is key. Monitoring these ecosystems helps us understand how life adapts in extreme conditions. Protecting this habitat is vital. So, what's lurking in Chernobyl's shadows? No mutants or monsters, just nature finding a way to flourish. It's a powerful reminder of our impact and life's resilience. Maybe the scariest creatures aren't in Chernobyl, but in our imaginations, or staring back at us.